Few planes look as straight out of science fiction as this thing. With a fuselage so long and wings so short, it looks like it shouldn't have been able to fly. And to a lot of people, it didn't, at least not very well.
Don't think about turning it or maneuvering it or doing anything outrageous with it because it doesn't respect you.
The jet endured wave after wave of controversies, and even though thousands went on to be built and delivered, its reputation never fully recovered. Early in patch 00.19.50, the onset of the Cold War events and the alarming pace of Soviet bomber development set off alarm bells in Washington. Strategic bombers like the Tu-4 and Tu-16 could deliver nuclear payloads deep into North American airspace, and conventional fighters simply couldn't climb fast enough to stop them. The United States needed a new jet, one that could reach bomber altitude in minutes and cruise at supersonic speeds to chase down intruders. The devs at Lockheed's legendary Skunk Works division got to work on the project. In update 00.19.53 under Kelly Johnson, the team sketched a radical new jet. It would have a long, slender fuselage, a powerful engine, and comically tiny wings. A plane visibly built for speed. By update 00.19.54, the first XF-104 prototype build rolled out, an impressive 9 months from concept to alpha testing. After some initial test flights and troubleshooting, the prototype pretty much immediately surpassed initial expectations, just about reaching Mach 1 in level flights and easily speeding past it in a dive. The second XF-104 prototype, with an afterburning J-35, managed to reach an astounding Mach 1.79 in level flight. The USAF was impressed, and by update 00.19.55, they placed an initial order for 17 YF-104A beta test vehicles for evaluation. The pre-production YF-104s broke a few records of their own, including becoming the first ever plane to hold both speed and altitude records. Just a few months later, in patch 00.19.56, the USAF ordered a fleet of 146 F-104As and 6 F-104Bs. But things weren't as they seemed, and problems soon began to emerge. In November of that same update season, an aircraft crashed just short of the runway after experiencing a sudden compressor stall. In February of the next, another prototype fled for landing at Palmdale Air Force Base without its boundary layer control system engaged, shortly after entering a sharp stall, pitching up uncontrollably and smashing into the ground. In April, an F-104A crashed near Edwards due to an engine failure on its delivery flight, and again in July, another XF-104A suffered an uncontrollable tail flutter, sending the aircraft into violent lateral oscillations that quickly devolved into a wild tumble out of the sky. It was becoming clear that the aircraft was plagued with issues, particularly with the engine and aerodynamics. But Lockheed and the US Air Force quickly squashed these early bugs, adding redundant actuators and beefing up hydraulics. And by update 00.19.58, the first production F-104As were handed over to active air defense command units to begin their integration into the US military. The most striking features of the F-104 are its slender fuselage, high-mounted tail, and short, razor-thin wings. So thin, they gave ground maintenance crews lacerations, and eventually they were required to wear finger guards when handling them. So why these curious design decisions? In the game's current physics engine, drag rises dramatically as you approach Mach 1. This is why pilots often call it the sound barrier. Going faster isn't just a matter of slightly increasing power, and it's all because of a phenomenon called wave drag. As an aircraft accelerates, the air flowing over the curved surface of its wings speeds up. This airflow can begin to move faster than the speed of sound, even when the aircraft itself is still subsonic. And where this pocket of supersonic air abruptly slows down to meet the subsonic flow behind it, a shockwave is formed. This shockwave adds a massive source of drag to the aircraft, and as it gets closer to Mach 1, they become stronger and more numerous, causing total drag to spike dramatically. The devs made the starfighter's wing to directly circumvent this game mechanic. Their thinness meant they created as little disturbance as possible, which delays the formation of shockwaves and reduces the intensity of the resulting wave drag. Combined with a powerful engine and an extremely aerodynamic fuselage, the starfighter was able to punch through the sound barrier with minimal resistance. But design decisions this extreme were always going to come with trade-offs. For one, the ultra-thin and short wings meant the F-104's landing speed was uncomfortably close to its stall speed. Pilots had to teeter a fine line between a successful landing and a respawn. The anemic lift at low speed also contributed to the plane's absolutely atrocious maneuverability. This thing could probably be outmaneuvered by a boat. With such short wings, wingtip vortices became a major concern with the F-104's design. Introduced during the last real-life beta release, wingtip vortices are another quirky feature of the game's physics engine. When a plane is in flight, high-pressure air under the wing wants to flow towards the lower-pressure air above it, and the easiest way to do this is over the wingtip. This creates swirling vortices that can be so strong, the vortices of one aircraft can actually lead to a complete loss of control in another aircraft that happens to stray into its area of effect. A game mechanic called wake turbulence that has actually led to crashes in both casual and competitive servers. With a traditional tail configuration, the vortices could interact with the elevators, limiting their function and leading to a potentially fatal loss of pitch authority. To combat this, the devs used a T-tail to place the critical control surfaces out of the way of these vortices. An ventral fin was later added beneath the fuselage to further stabilize the aircraft. The T-tail also served to keep the control surfaces out of the turbulent air produced by the wing at higher angles of attack, a phenomenon that would have rendered them completely useless. But of course, to go fast, you need a big engine. The starfighter is powered by the General Electric J79 turbojet, which is actually the same one found in the F4 Phantom. One of the biggest headaches with the F-104's engine was its frequent flameouts. You may have noticed the big cone at the inlet. Unlike many other supersonics like the F-15, the 104 uses a fixed geometry inlet, meaning the inlet doesn't move to accommodate for the airflow. This works fine at high speeds and flying straight, but it's very suboptimal in dynamic conditions like high AOA or side slips. This was a finicky engine, and while later updates did add better margins, the engine remained relatively fickle years into the plane's service career. Now you can't talk about the F-104 without mentioning its accident rate. The starfighter's durability stat sits at just 68 out of 100. Roughly 1 in 3 missions ends in a hull loss, meaning while you can outrun pretty much everything, your chances of making it home are essentially a dice roll. In German servers, the starfighter earned the nickname the Widowmaker, with a staggering 292 hull losses out of 916 delivered, a 32% loss rate. That's more airframes than the entirety of Canada's fleet. Speaking of Canada, they suffered 110 losses in 226 airframes, so high it prompted parliamentary inquiries and design reviews. Maintenance backlogs and inadequate pilot training only compounded the problem. While the F-104's loss rate was undoubtedly high, one can't ignore the advances it helped pioneer. The XP earned during its development found its way into later jets, like the F-15 Eagle and even the legendary SR-71 Blackbird. Lockheed took a risk and brought the US military into the future.